I have 8 things to watch in the Super Bowl this evening against the Philadelphia Eagles. But really, guys, there's just, in my opinion, one thing worth watching for the game itself. And then after that, there's a lot of reasons to watch just for context as a Chiefs fan. And then I have one note at the end that I hope you take to heart. The number one thing that we have to watch tonight is obviously the Eagles' defensive line versus the Chiefs' offensive line. Obviously, this is a major storyline. This is possibly the one personnel grouping that will, in fact, determine the game. In a one-game off, there is no one better than Patrick Mahomes. But we saw in an alleged Super Bowl against the Buccaneers that no one has ever actually produced video evidence for, that sometimes that can break down. And when that does break down, Patrick Mahomes being the greatest football player in the history of the game, well, things don't go quite so well. So should the Chiefs' offensive line be able to hold up against the Eagles' defensive line, the Kansas City Chiefs will have every opportunity in the world, in my opinion, to win this game. Every week during this season, we kept on hearing, yeah, look, it worked out. They won this game. But that offensive line was very shaky. Just wait until they face the never came. The never was. The Chiefs just kept on grinding out wins. The Chiefs had some bad games along the offensive line, but nothing that was outright terrible. Not along the entire unit. We kept hearing, wait until they face there's just one test left, and it's a big one. It's a big one. The Eagles have a very good defensive line, but the Kansas City Chiefs have faced down numerous defensive fronts in the latter half of the season and done all right along the way, so long as Joe Thuney had lined up at left tackle. One big reason to root for the Kansas City Chiefs in this Super Bowl, outside of the obvious, they're starting an undrafted offensive lineman at guard in Mike Caliendo, a guy who who never had his name called on draft night. I wish I was not forced to get rid of the videos, but one of the things that I had said upon his signing with the Kansas City Chiefs was that he did look like an NFL guy at Western Michigan. I thought he would have to kick inside, but he has always been the kind of guy that seems like the lunch pail type. So that's a big reason, in my opinion, to root for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, moving on to a lot of context in this game. The one that surprised me the most is this. Should George Karlaftis get 2 sacks? That's a big ask, yes, but should George Karlaftis get 2 sacks? He moves into the top 20 all time in postseason play with 9. George Karlaftis, he of being drafted 2 years ago, moves into 3 years ago. This is his 3rd season. So, would move into the top 20 all time in postseason sacks. Now, a couple of different sources that I checked had Chris Jones only at 3.5 postseason sacks. Now, I know he had a huge drought early in his career without having sacks in postseason play, but golly, it seems to me off the top of my head, I've seen him get more than 3.5 sacks in the postseason since, but I suppose that is true. So George Karlaftis 2 sacks away with 7 from moving into the top 20 all time. Chris Jones only has 3.5, so he's pretty far out of any of those races. Travis Kelce, the same. Now, I thought he was closer to these numbers too for some reason, but Travis Kelce needs 207 yards to pass Jerry Rice, 2,245 for the most postseason receiving yards of all time, and he needs 3 touchdowns to pass Jerry Rice, 22 for the most playoff touchdowns of all time. Both of those would be big asks, but In light of recent comments from Travis Kelce, I do now believe he will be back next season. However, I do still believe next season will likely be his last because he does look up to his older brother so much, and that was where his older brother called it a career. 2 seasons. He was drafted 2 years before Travis Kelce and played it retired last season. So I think that will be one of the things that is interesting moving forward. Then we have the big one here. The big obvious one here is Patrick Mahomes. Where does he rank in all of these rankings? Some of them are going to surprise you. I hate to sound like that guy, but some of these will surprise you. They surprised me. Patrick Mahomes is 7th all-time in postseason passing yards with 5,557. He's 217 yards shy of Joe Montana for 6th place, 298 shy of Brett Favre for 5th place. Now, 300-yard games are rare in the NFL the past couple of seasons, but they do happen. And as I talked about in yesterday's video, Baker Mayfield went off on this Eagles defense, and I think that these offenses for the Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs are similar, so I think it's a possibility that Patrick Mahomes has a massive game and could move into the top 5 all-time in postseason passing yards. He's 337 shy of Aaron Rodgers for 4th place all-time. Mahomes is 1 touchdown shy of Brett Favre's 44 for 4th place all-time, meaning that Patrick Mahomes is currently 5th place. He's 2 touchdowns shy of Aaron Rodgers for 3rd place, with Rodgers and Montana. 1st place, very far out there. So he's also 1 rushing touchdown shy of the top 15 all-time. That was surprising to me. One rushing touchdown shy of the top 15 all-time postseason rushing touchdowns. He has 7, whereas 8 touchdowns would tie him with Shaun Alexander, one of the brightest 2-year stars in the NFL, Curtis Martin, who had a long and arduous career, Ricky Watters, who was a staple of the early 90s, and Steve Young, one of the early great scrambling quarterbacks. If he gets 2 rushing touchdowns in the Super Bowl, which he's already done once this postseason, it would move him into the top 10 all-time rushing touchdowns in the postseason. It would move him into the top 10. Patrick Mahomes, postseason rushing legend. Also, this is incredible. Mahomes is 40th all-time in postseason rushing yards with 581. I would never have guessed that. Touchdowns, obviously harder to come by. If you're a quarterback, you get to squeeze in there once in a while. It's a funny thing you get to do, but rushing yards? 40th, sure, but another 9 yards moves him ahead into 39th place. 20 yards would move him all the way up to 36th, and 50 yards, should he find himself with 50 rushing yards in this game, it puts him in the top 30 all time. Now, Isaiah Pacheco also finds himself in the top 50 rushing yards all-time postseason with 540. Another 50 yards would put him at 39th all-time, and another 100 yards would put him at 28th all-time. We have just a couple more of these to talk about. Justin Reid is 35th all-time in postseason play with 53 tackles. Nick Bolton is 42nd all-time with 51 tackles. A lot of numbers, I know, guys. But if either of these guys makes it to 60, it puts them in the top 21 all-time. So Justin Reid would need 7 tackles, Nick Bolton would need 9. Both of those are in my opinion, likely outcomes due to the rushing, the high rushing nature of the Eagles' offense. They're going to run the ball a lot. Getting to 63, so Justin Reid would need 10 tackles. Nick Bolton would need 12. That would get these guys into the top 15 all time. Getting to 67, which is a stretch, but guys, it's possible when you're facing a rushing offense, right? It's a stretch, but getting to 67, so 15 for Justin Reid, 17 for Nick Bolton, would get them into the top 10 all-time postseason tackles. And then we have the butt kicker himself. Harrison Butker is third all-time in postseason points scored with 175. Now, in order to move up into second place all-time, he would have to score 37 points in the Super Bowl. That is unlikely. The last thing that I have to say is this. It's the Super Bowl. Do your best to remember that these are supposed to be rare. We're spoiled, but it could be that starting tomorrow, Super Bowls are rare once again. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your company. Look around tonight, wherever you are, whoever you're with, and make some memories. There is undoubtedly someone, in whatever room you're in, maybe you're alone, that will remember this night for the rest of their lives. Memories are made in big events. This is a little bit of a tangent, but if you are, I see the statistics for my channel. Most people that watch this channel are my age or older. Then you know that at a certain point in life, everything seems to go by so quickly. They say part of the reason for that is once you hit a certain stage in life, there are no hallmarks anymore. When you were younger, every year had massive hallmarks for you. You were in a new grade of school. You had summer. You met a new friend. You had Christmas, your birthday. All of these things really mattered to you. So time was slower because you had a bunch of things to remember that time, a bunch of things by which to remember that time passing. When you're older, it doesn't matter as much. You try to forget your birthday. Christmas is all stuff you got to buy for someone else. There's no grades. Lord knows there's no new friends. So all of these events in your life pass very fast. You don't notice things moving by. Tonight, you can remember these things. These will be moments that you take with you. That is what I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing that I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. We're coming up on 2 consecutive years of daily uploads. And if you want to stick around, hit the subscribe button because I'd love to have you back for the next one.